I'm Sadie.
I'm Sharon.
Okay, let's talk about something that actually matters.
Your vote.
Your voice.
And all the barriers that get in the way.
Welcome to Save the Polls.
Woohoo!
We are a student-run civic engagement organization based right here in Virginia, and we are on a mission.
The mission? Make voting make sense for everyone, no matter where you're from, what you know, or how many times you've done it before.
Because, here's the truth, voting should not be this confusing, and yet, there is misinformation everywhere. There are rules that nobody explained to you. There are real barriers that keep real people away from the polls.
And we think that's a problem worth fixing.
So, we made a podcast. Every episode, we get into a different piece of it. The barriers, the myths, the stuff nobody talks about. We dig into our own and others' research.
We are nonpartisan. We are not here to tell you who to vote for. We're here to make sure you can.
Because it doesn't matter where you fall on the political spectrum, you deserve accurate information, you deserve access, and your vote deserves to count.
That's what Save the Polls is about. That's what this podcast is about.
So, if you're a first-time voter, welcome. This is for you.
If you've voted before but still feel like the system is confusing and kind of a lot, also for you.
If you just want to be more informed, absolutely for you.
So I guess if you're a person who exists in a democracy,
this is for you.
This is so for you.
All right, let's save some polls. I'm your president, Sadie Goldman.
And I'm a member of the social media committee, Sharon Louts. Okay, I want to start with a question.
Hit me.
Did your parents vote in the last election?
Okay, that's a weirdly personal question.
It is, but it matters way more than people think. Because here's the thing, voting is contagious, and so is not voting.
Okay, so when you say contagious, you mean?
I mean, the single biggest predictor of whether a young person votes is whether people around them vote. Parents, older siblings, friends, the people in your house on election day.
So it's less about whether you personally care about politics and more about whether voting is just a thing that happens in your world?
Exactly. If you grew up in a house where voting was just what you do on election day, you get in the car, you go, you sometimes get a sticker, you come home, it probably feels normal for you.
And if you didn't?
Then voting might feel like something other people do. Something that requires a whole lot of effort for an unclear reward.
And that gap between the people who grew up with voting as a habit and the people who didn't, that gap is massive.
It is. And today we're going to get into why that actually happens, what it actually looks like, and what we can do about it.
Let's go.
Okay, so let's actually talk about why this is true. Because I think a lot of people hear your parents' habits affect yours and think, okay, sure, obvious.
Yeah, like obviously kids pick up their parents' habits.
Right, but it goes deeper than just monkey see, monkey do. Researchers have actually studied this extensively. There's something called political socialization, which is basically the process by which people develop their political attitudes, values, and behaviors.
And the family is the number one source of that.
The number one source. Not school, not the news, not your friends, at least not early on. Your family.
So you're absorbing a whole political worldview, including whether voting is worth doing, before you're old enough to vote.
Before you even know what a polling place is. And one study found that young adults are significantly more likely to vote if they reported seeing their parents vote when they were kids, like actually watching the act.
The visibility matters.
The visibility matters so much. It's not just about whether your parents told you voting is important, it's whether you saw them do it.
Because anyone can say something is important, but what you actually do, that's what kids internalize.
Exactly. And it works in reverse too. If your parents consistently didn't vote, didn't talk about elections, changed the channel when the news came on, you probably got a very different message.
That message being, this isn't for us.
Or it doesn't even matter. Or the system doesn't work anyway, so why bother?
And this is important, those feelings aren't irrational. A lot of communities have real historical reasons to distrust the system.
Completely valid reasons.
But the result is that distrust gets passed down, and it keeps people away from the polls for generations. Okay, so we've talked about parents specifically, but it's not just about family, right? It's bigger than that.
Yeah, it's about your whole environment, your neighborhood, your friend group, your community.
Delegate Siebold, we had a chance to sit down with her. She brought this up directly. She mentioned that in higher income communities, people often just don't prioritize voting because elections don't seem to affect their daily lives as much.
Like, if everything is pretty fine for you, regardless of who's in office, voting doesn't feel urgent.
And in lower income communities or minority communities, there's often a different dynamic, a deep distrust of the system, a sense that your vote won't change things.
So you've got these two totally different reasons for not voting, but both end up at the same place: people staying home.
And both of these attitudes learned from the people around you.
Which means they can also be unlearned, or relearned, or ideally replaced with something better before they even take root.
Which is kind of the whole point of what we're doing.
Okay, I want to make this concrete, because I think it's easy to talk about socialization and political attitudes and have it feel kind of abstract.
Right, like, okay, great. Social science, what does that actually look like?
So think about election day. For some people, it's a whole thing. Like, the family talks about it beforehand, someone reminds everyone to go, parents may bring their kids to the polling place. And the kid is just standing there watching their parents touch a screen, and parents are like, this is how we make our voice heard. And that kid does not forget that.
I literally didn't. I used to go with my mom every single year. Like, it was non-negotiable. We were going.
That's so cute.
And they would give me this sticker, a future voter sticker. And I thought that was the coolest thing. Like, I had a job. I was a part of something. And looking back, that's exactly what was happening. My mom wasn't just voting. She was showing me that this is what we do. This matters. You'll do this too someday.
And now, here you are, running a voter engagement organization in high school.
Future voter no more.
Future voter no more. But see, that's the thing. Not every kid gets that sticker.
And it's not because their parents don't love them or don't care. Sometimes it just wasn't in the picture.
Nobody handed them the habit. And here's the cruel irony: the communities that most need strong voter turnout to protect their interests are often the communities where voting habits are least established. Because distrust was earned over generations of being let down.
So, the people who have the most at stake are the people who've been given the most reasons not to show up.
Which is exactly the kind of cycle that voter suppression loves.
Okay, so this is the part I actually want to spend time on, because this could get really depressing really fast if we just stop at cycles of non-voting are passed down, the end.
Right, that's not the end.
What actually breaks the cycle?
A few things. First, and this is a big one, peers. Specifically, young people talking to other young people.
Which is part of why organizations like ours exist.
Exactly. Research consistently shows that peer-to-peer outreach is one of the most effective ways to get young people to vote. Not an ad, not a celebrity telling you to vote, a friend, a classmate, someone your age who you trust.
Because if your parents didn't model voting, maybe your friend group can.
Right. You can build the habit in community even if you didn't get it at home. And once you vote once, the research says you are much more likely to keep doing it.
It's like going to the gym. The first time is the hardest.
The first time is so hard. You don't know where anything is, you feel a little lost, and you're like, why am I even here?
But then you go again, and it's a little less weird, and then it's just something you do.
Exactly. Voting becomes a habit through repetition. So the goal is just get people to do it once. Remove every possible excuse for not doing it the first time.
Which is also why making registration and voting as easy as possible matters so much. Virginia actually does pretty well here. You can register online, you can register on election day, and early voting is an option.
The infrastructure for first-timers is there. Habit building is the gap that we need to fill.
So, if family can pass down the non-voting habit and peers can help break it, what about schools?
Schools are huge and underused.
Delegate Siebold said this too. She was like, educating high schoolers on voting shouldn't even feel like a choice. It should just be automatic.
Because think about what school does. It creates shared experiences. Every student in that building, regardless of what their home life looks like, goes through the same thing.
So, if voting, education, and registration are built into the school day, you're reaching kids who would never get that at home.
You're leveling the playing field in a really direct way.
Virginia has taken some steps. Schools are required to give students access to voter registration information, let them register on school devices, and offer registration opportunities during the school day.
Which is real. That really matters.
But there's a difference between access to registration information and a guided session where someone sits down with you and actually does it.
Like our 11th grade registration program.
Exactly. Walking someone through it step by step, actually doing the thing, is so different from just handing them a website.
And it creates a shared moment.
And you know what else schools can do? Make election day feel like something. Bring in speakers, do mock elections, treat it like the civic event that it is.
Normalize it. Make it exciting even.
Because right now, for a lot of students, elections just happen. Somewhere off in the distance while they're in class learning about the mitochondria.
Which, respect to the mitochondria.
Always. But maybe also your role in democracy.
Okay, so here's the part I find genuinely hopeful about all of this.
Oh, good. Let's be hopeful.
The same way non-voting habits get passed down, voting habits do too. If you start voting now, your kids are more likely to vote. Your younger siblings are watching you. Your friends see you posting your I voted sticker.
It ripples outward.
It ripples outward. Every first-time voter is potentially the start of a new family voting tradition.
Which is kind of a big deal when you think about it that way.
It's a really big deal. You're not just voting for this election. You're potentially shifting the way that your family looks like for the next generation.
No pressure.
A little pressure.
Okay, a little pressure, but the good kind.
The motivating kind.
Okay, so let's bring it back. Today we talked about how the people around you, your parents, your community, your environment, shape whether you vote, sometimes before you even realize it's happening.
And that's not an excuse. It's an explanation. Understanding why the habit isn't there is the first step in building it anyway.
You can be the first person in your family who votes consistently. You can make that phone call to a friend on election day. You can be the reason someone else shows up.
The cycle isn't permanent. Habits change. Communities change.
But only if someone decides to change them.
We're Save the Polls. Share this with someone who needs it, and if you're not registered,
go do it. Literally right now. We'll wait.
We won't wait. The episode is over.
Okay. Well, let's save democracy.
Let's save democracy.